it was really hard to be taken seriously, for being the Baywatch girl or the girl in the bathing suit for these heavy duty acting roles. And I worked on my craft and I studied, and so it was just a fight. It was a fight for many, many, many years.
Welcome back to the Up and Adam Show. My name is Adam Lupis, and guys, I'm so excited today. We have an amazing guest on the show, and we've been trying to make this happen for a while, and I'm so happy we're finally doing it. You definitely know her from Baywatch, playing Shawnee McClain, also in Under Siege with Steven Seagal and Chasers, and so many cool things. She also has her own podcast called The Spiritual Alchemy with Erika. Please welcome Erika Eleniak. How's it going?
Hi, Adam. Hi, everybody.
It's
How are you? Thank you for having me.
No problem. Thank you so much. And like I mentioned, you've done so many cool things, and from when you were a kid up until now, like that span of all those years, you just constantly keep doing so many cool things. From the very beginning, you were in E.T. and you were only 12 years old in that movie, and
Right.
working with Steven Spielberg must have been such a dream to work with him. How was that whole experience like for you? Because I read online that I know the filming of the kissing scene was a little bit frightening for you, especially that whole scene. Like, can you tell us about that experience?
Absolutely. So, first of all, at 12 years old, I didn't know, and this is, a horrific thing to admit, but I'm an honest girl. So, I didn't know who Steven Spielberg was. I was 12. I had been acting for a couple of years. I wasn't really a movie buff at that time. So I got called, I actually did an acting class. We did a showcase. And because my scene partner, it was a father-daughter scene, was a grown-up, we were asked to do the adult showcase, and Steven Spielberg had a talent scout in the audience. So he saw our scene and he asked me to come in and meet for a movie. So of course I did. I don't know what's going on. I met him and he was so nice to me. And he said, wow, you're very tall and our actor is a lot shorter than you are. So he goes, well, and we just talked for a while. And he said, do you want to be in my movie? And I said, sure. So that's kind of how the whole thing started. And really, it was only 3 days of filming. Mm-hmm. And the kissing scene was terrifying. Terrifying. I mean, I was only 12 years old. And actually, Henry Thomas was 10, and he was in a girl haters club.
Yes, I read about that online.
Yes.
He didn't. He
it's
told
true.
Wait. I think he told like People's Magazine, or he told something like that. He was like, "Oh, like I hated doing it. Girls are icky," or he said something funny like that for a kid.
Yes,
right?
So precious. So I actually cried. So Stephen came and spoke with me and my mom, and he said it's going to be so easy, and we're going to do what's called a closed set. So only the absolute crew that has to be there to make it happen will be there. And then he went and spoke also with Henry to try and relax Henry a little bit. And our height was so, we had such a difference between our height. That whole thing was Stephen working his magic where Henry pushes that little boy down and he climbs on his back so he can be lip level. Yeah, but it was amazing. It was I'm so grateful to be such a part of that, such an iconic classic movie. And I remember going to see it in Hollywood at the Hollywood Dome Theater with my mom and my grandma and my little sister. And I just remember being wide-eyed and my mouth open watching this movie because we were there for 3 days and then no one was allowed to stay. It was a very secretive situation. In fact, they gave us a fake title called they said it was called A Boy's Life. And if you watch the very opening of the movie, the beginning of the film is the boy riding his bike to throw the papers, and there's a marquee. He goes through town, and on the marquee of this movie, it says A Boy's Life. So he did fun little things like that, but it was very quiet. So all I knew is that it was a movie about a boy and an alien, and at 12 you roll your eyes. And I had such a small part, so I had no idea what I was in for when I went to go see that film, and it was just stunning.
That's amazing, and it's so awesome because Steven Spielberg, he's a national treasure, loved by many, and now they're making a movie on him now too. I'm sure you've seen the trailer for it. I'm sure you heard about it. Like,
Yeah.
that's why I love why I'm so big in the 90s, 80s, 90s, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously, I was born in 1999, but I have older
Yeah.
siblings. I have older siblings that got me into that stuff. And I just love how
Sure.
back in the day it was more adventurous movies. The concepts of movies are a lot more they were a lot more fun back in the day.
And
You had
focused on relationships and people as opposed
yeah.
to digital special effects and that kind of being the grab. It was really more about people and, like you said, adventure and the
Yeah, you
movies
had
in the
movies like
70s too.
look at movies like The Goonies too. Like I love The Goonies, for example.
Yeah.
Like I
Such a good movie.
Yeah, and the thing about those movies, whether you're 10 years old, a kid watching it, relating to those kids, or you're 50 years old, whatever, you can still
Right.
relate to the kids because it's
Right.
almost like you see yourself in them. That's why I love those
Right.
movies. It has
Same.
I say it all the time. It gives you a cozy feeling. That's what those
Yeah.
movies give you, especially.
Agreed.
There's one character that Erika is well known for playing, and that's Shawnee McClain in the show Baywatch, where she acted alongside David Hasselhoff and the rest of the amazing cast. Prior to being on this show, Erika was a Playboy playmate, and when she got on Baywatch, she instantly became a 90s icon. After her time on the show, she started embracing her spiritual side and really wanted to focus on projects that promote self-empowerment. And this is why I admire Erika Eleniak so much, because she stays true to herself, and she didn't want to be viewed as a sex symbol.
There's so many, all rumors and gossip and misconceptions about everyone in this
Yeah,
industry. And Baywatch was so interesting for me because when we started that show, first it was a 2 hour movie. And like
yes,
a
yeah,
backdoor pilot. We used to have those movies on, the movies of the week on Sunday night, and it would be like channel 2, 4, and 7, and who would have the most ratings and what's going to become a series. Kind of, they were like 2 hour movie backdoor pilots,
yeah.
which is how we started Baywatch. And it was actually on NBC, which was the most conservative network at the time. We had to do everything by the book. The suits were regulation. Every action that we depicted, like CPR, everything had to be, regulation by the book to also get sponsored
Hmm.
and to get some sponsorship. So it changed a lot. It became what it was. So how wonderful for the show
Hmm.
and the world, because when it was a very expensive show to make, and it wasn't canceled because of ratings. It was canceled because it was very expensive to make, and the gentleman who owned the rights couldn't pay the bill himself, right? So it
Yeah,
went down, and David Hasselhoff and the producers, the creators, took it, shopped it, and got it resurrected, if you will. And it became what it became, which was, montages and music and eye candy. And it just sort of took on a life of its own. And yeah, I really, really wanted a film career. So I put, a couple years into the show. And back then, when you signed a TV series deal, standard Boilermaker, you sign it for 7 years.
okay. I
So
didn't
for
know that. Yeah.
me, in order, yeah, to get out of my contract, I agreed to do the 2 hour third season opener, which was a movie.
Yeah.
I feel like it was River of No Return. And it was introducing the character of CJ, Pamela Anderson.
Yeah.
And then that was my swan song where Eddie and I got married and went off, I think, to Australia to run a bar or something. And I really wanted a film career after that. And
Mhm.
I went, I got to tell you, it's a lot of the decisions that I made in my career. It was like a push pull, because I would throw something out there and people would say, that's what you are. That's who you are. And I was always saying, no, that was an experience I had. That was a job I did. Now I'm
Yes.
moving on to do this. But this industry, Hollywood, doesn't want to do that. When we love someone or like someone for something, or regardless what they're known for, that's what you are, boom, move on. And it was really hard because internationally, when that show hit huge, I was already off the show for about 3 years off. Do you know how weird that was for people to be like, it was just hitting overseas? Oh my gosh, you play that character. And I was getting all this amazing, just recognition and people just appreciating the show, but I was already gone. And
Yeah.
domestically, here, meaning at home, working on getting a job, it was really hard to be taken seriously for being the Baywatch girl or the girl in the bathing suit for these heavy duty acting roles. And I worked on my craft and I studied, and And so it was just a fight. It was a fight for many, many, many years. And and that's why it's so hard, because I love the creators of that show, and the producers of that show are such good people, and I really love them, and I'm grateful for them giving me that opportunity. But
Yeah,
I think when I left, there was so much just stuff around why I was leaving, and the versus the truth. And I was really young, I needed to say how I felt and
yeah,
communicate differently than the way I did, and I didn't. So I think some bridges got burned. And, over the years, I've had the opportunity to say what I'm saying to you now, which
of
is it
course.
was a great show, but I just needed to move on and do other things. That's all,
Yeah.
So, and I had to work hard. I had to work really hard for the opportunities to be taken seriously.
Yeah, like it's really like I get inspired hearing stuff like that because I'm sure people have gone through similar things like that, and unfortunately with Hollywood, or I think anything you do, you gotta. Yeah, it depends. Like sometimes you'll do something and you never know what happens after that, right? For example, like you did the show, right? You never
Right.
thought that it would potentially deprive you from getting more serious roles after, right? Who knew, right? You did it because at the time you
Right.
thought it was a smart career move. And it even goes back to like when you were in Playboy, for example, right? Like even
Right. Great
diet,
example.
yeah, like you didn't do it because you want to be a playmate. You did it because you
Right.
thought it was a right career move. See, that's the difference,
What a great,
you
and it
know?
actually wasn't for my career. I was 18 years old, 19 years old, dating a guy at the time I wanted to impress, the group of people I was with. It just was something I wanted to do. And I knew then, I had already been in the industry for 8 years, that it would probably create an obstacle, that people would be like, oh, you do Playboy, you take off your clothes, bimbo, this, that, or the other. And at the end of the day, I said, but I know I'm not. I know who I am, and I will work for my career, so I'm not worried about it, and especially when you're young, you're invincible.
Yeah.
So I never thought of myself as, you do Playboy, you're a playmate for life. That's just not me. I judge no one who that's the path they took. That's amazing. If it made you happy and wonderful and provided those opportunities for you. For me, perfect example of, it was a job. I moved on. I did two layouts for them and some covers. It was fun. And it was probably over about 2 years, a 2 year period maximum.
Yeah.
And then that was it. I moved on, and it was great. And I literally I was in a trailer. I was doing a film. This particular film, I'm not a gossip, so I'm not going to say what it was, but this
Of course.
particular film, when I signed on, the script changed. It probably changed about 13 times, and it kept getting racier and racier and racier and just raunchy and not okay. And we ended up in a lawsuit. It was not good. And I remember I was about to go to lunch and step out of the trailer. And I heard the director and the DP talking, literally, who does she think she is? Not doing this scene after she does Playboy, after she does Baywatch. Who does she think she is? And I will never forget that as long as I live. And this was many, many, many years ago already. And I thought, oh, I know exactly who I am. And how dare you?
Yeah.
How dare you? You always have a right to do something or not do something, but
Yeah.
just because you do something, it doesn't define you. I mean, that you're going to do that thing for the rest of your life. And it's not just women who go through this. Any shows, there are a lot of people who are associated with space shows, men who get known
Yeah.
for a particular character and who want to go do something else. That was fun. It doesn't mean you're not grateful. Like, for instance, Baywatch internationally still gives me opportunities. I have never not been grateful for Baywatch,
Yeah.
but two completely different worlds, internationally and at home. And it's very hard to even articulate, because it's still so emotional for me. There's a lot of, it's just complicated. It's a gray area. It's
Yeah.
not
It's
one
not black and
thing.
white. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but yes, people pigeonhole you is what they like to do. And
Yeah.
I've always fought for diversity. And it's really funny. I remember doing a roundtable for the Beverly Hillbillies, and a reporter had asked me, they said, your career is it's so diverse. I mean, you've got this, you've got that, you've got this, you've got that. What are you looking for? And I said, diversity.
I was gonna say, wait, isn't that the point of being
Most
an actor?
actors.
I was gonna say the whole point of being an actor is to be
Right.
diverse. You know what? It's like
Yeah.
you just said, like you don't want to be known for. Well, I mean, hey, listen, to each their own. Some people
And
don't
right,
mind.
to each their own, because it works. And my God, I mean, whatever makes you happy and is gratifying to you and fulfills you, wonderful.
Yeah,
Like I mean that very, very, whatever the topic is, whether we're talking about acting or religion or I don't, whatever works for you and fills your soul up, that is amazing.
look at that, like the cast of the Sopranos, for example. Like
Right.
a lot of them didn't do stuff after that. I'm not sure if it was for personal choices. I'm not sure. I can't really speak on that. But all I know is that some just did that and that's it. And they still, to this day, go to the conventions. There was a
Yeah.
Sopranos con that happened. Like, that's just one example. But some people just
Yeah.
like to be known for one thing. They're happy
Yeah.
to have that. And then they move on, which is fine. And some
Sure.
people like to be diverse. But I think in life, it's important to, in order to find your true calling and in order to know what you're good at, you have to kind of dip your toes into everything, right?
Sure.
I'm still learning that
Yeah.
as a young. I'm a young actor starting out. I'm learning.
Yeah.
What am I gonna like? I'm auditioning for everything, but I want to eventually find, okay, this works, this doesn't work, this works.
And you will. And especially knowing that so young, Adam, that's amazing because sometimes people in their lifetime never figure that out. Or like for me, I just turned 53 and I'm just
Wait,
figuring out a
hold
lot
on a
of
second.
different.
You're 53?
I am. Yes.
Well,
I am.
I don't know what you're eating or drinking, but like you look great for your age. Seriously.
Thank you. And
I
on
think
that note, I'm going to keep backing up from the camera. Well, thank you. But I hope that we're ever evolving always until our deathbed. If we live to 113, God willing, knocking on wood, throw salt across myself. We're always evolving, but that's so important. And I think a lot of people, I lived probably not just the first half, we're going to go over maybe 2/3 of my life in fear. Fear made all my decisions for me. And so because of that, I chose without knowing I was choosing to lose out on a lot of opportunities. And not just professionally, but also personally. Because when you let fear dictate your actions, obviously, if you're gripped in fear, you're not seeing the bigger picture. But looking back, I can say, there were so many things that were presented to me that I worked hard for. And you can have that regret and beat yourself up. Oh my gosh, why didn't I do that? Or why didn't I? But if I was meant to do it, I would have.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean there's no regrets. People say, I have no regrets. If I guess it depends on how you define it. If you were brought back to that same sort of corner in life where you could go right or left, and you knew then what you know now, would you do the same things over again? That's quite difficult because I think some of those decisions are no-brainers. You would say absolutely not. But if the big picture says, but everything you did made you who you are today and brought you to where you are, and then you look at where you are and you say, but I have this great family and my daughter, and it's a difficult one. Yes, I certainly have regrets.
Oh, yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Did they shape me? Sure. Yeah. So it's hard. You just have to do what you said, see what you like. And for the kids out there, my daughter's going to be 17, and not just knowing what you like is not so easy. I know that sounds ridiculous, but honestly, knowing what you really want is sometimes one of the hardest things you'll ever have to find out in life.
Yeah,
I like vanilla ice cream. I like long hair. I like this. I like that. Those things are so easy. But at the end of the day, when you're faced with big decisions, life decisions, and those decisions are really made on what do you want, sometimes we really don't know what we want.
Yeah.
So finding out what we want, you have to also know what you don't want. And that's what you just said, right?
Yeah, and the toughest thing is why it sucks is because we're told to figure out these life decisions at such young ages. Another great show that you guys may not know Erika was in was Full House. Now, Uncle Jesse, obviously John Stamos is such a handsome guy. He was a lady killer. And there's one episode where Erika got to play Uncle Jesse's ex-girlfriend. So I had to ask Erika, what was it like kissing one of the most handsome guys on the face of the planet? You know a guy's good looking when they make references in Step Brothers. Remember? If you were a chick Who's the one guy you'd sleep with? John Stamos. What? Did we just become best friends? Yup.
There's a reference to the character that Bob Saget made about, I forget what it was, but something in the show about mixing laundry, and he sort of uses this metaphor, and so then I end up being
Oh
referred to as
yes,
the red
yes,
sock.
yes. I
Yeah,
remember that
because
it
I
gets
wore a red dress. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Now I remember. I haven't watched that episode in so long, but when I was doing my research and I saw that episode, I'm like, oh my god! I'm like, I totally forgot that was you in it, right? Because
Yeah.
I haven't watched it in so long. But first off, like, what was it just like kissing one of the most handsome guys in the world, like John
Well,
Stamos, like legend.
legend, and is such a sweetheart and an amazing human being. And the thing is, what was weird about it is that John and I were friends. My boyfriend at the time was Billy Warlock, and Billy and John were very good friends.
Oh, nice.
And so all of us were friends, and it was John who suggested, "Hey, do you want to come do, a guest star on the guest spot on the show?" So kissing each other was kind of weird because we were friends off screen and we knew each other, and he was very good friends with my boyfriend. So
Oh my
we were
god.
laughing about it then, going, okay, this is weird. But he's a wonderful human being.
Yeah, he's so,
Wonderful guy.
yeah.
Yeah, I was super blessed.
I see on Instagram all the things he posts. He just looks like such a nice guy. He's one of those
Yeah.
actors that you just know. Like when you look at like Adam Sandler. He's one of those actors that like no one hates him because he's Adam Sandler, right? It's
You
like same with
can't.
John Stamos. You look at John Stamos, you go,
Right.
or him like or
Come on.
Rob Lowe, John
Yeah.
Stamos, those guys. And what's good about them,
Yeah.
they age like fine wine. That's why
Oh,
I can't wait.
right.
I don't know why I'm saying I can't wait, but hopefully I can get to that point where I can get to their age.
You have one of those faces too, right? So that when you look so youthful, I mean, you are very, very young, but also when you look younger than your age, it comes in handy.
I mean,
Definitely comes in handy later.
I wish I looked a little older just because, I hate looking like I'm 16 years old. But
No, trust me, you're going to love that very, not too soon, but in a couple of, decades, you're going to be like, yes.
yeah,
You're going to look,
hopefully.
yeah, no, it's a good thing.
Yeah, and yeah, you mentioned Bob Saget, which obviously this past year he passed away. It was really sad. Even
Yeah.
more, did you get to spend a lot of time on set with him? And like, was there any funny memories of work, being on set?
Most of my stuff was with John. I mean, there's a table read, which was just so honestly just delightful to be there with everybody, and a few moments with Bob behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And just the energy, so light, and it's hard to articulate. It's like seeing a light around someone, right? That's what it was with him. Yeah, just so wonderful and made you feel at home, and the light around him just so beautiful, calming, peaceful, fun, just a really great guy. Yeah, we didn't get to do a lot together, but just being around his energy was amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I know. I wish I wish he was around longer because he even as a comedian too, he's just so fun. He had his own podcast.
Yeah. Oh.
Well. He just did so many things, I know we were talking about after Baywatch, you were trying to get into more serious things. And I know Under Siege was one of those movies where I thought it was a great performance by you and the whole movie in general. Like I grew up watching that movie. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And no problem. And like it's an action movie, right? And just being around that whole like the camaraderie on an action set, right? What's it like with working on all those, like, using the guns and like the explosions? Like, what is all that like on an action?
I loved it. And you could give me action movies and action and stunts over talking all day long.
Wow. Okay.
A little different now at my age, and I've been pretty injured on sets before that are now coming back to bite me. So, it's different now, obviously, but but back then I just really loved, just being physical and fighting and being strong. And I've had great stunt people, by the way, don't get me wrong, amazing people to make you look badass. But I really enjoyed it. I mean, I hung out with Gary Busey and got to hang out with Tommy Lee Jones a couple times. And I just was in awe, of their talent. Oh my gosh. Watching those two work together was phenomenal. When I was playing Jordan Tate on Under Siege, one of the things that I did for that character was journal every day. Every day I journaled as Jordan, that particular film, just to keep me centered. That was a definite wild adventure. It was a wild adventure. I met some great people. And yeah, I feel like every experience that you have changes you to a certain degree,
Yeah,
adds to your life. So
absolutely.
in one way or another. So yeah, that was definitely an adventure. But the back to your question about action, basically versus acting. Oh, I love the action. Yeah.
That is so cool. I know. That's the thing. I watch these action movies, and like you look at a guy like Tom Cruise, for example, who does
Right.
all his own stunts. I mean, listen, they're crazy to do, but in a way,
Yeah.
in a way, you kind of want to do them. You go like, you know what?
Yeah.
He's jumping out of airplanes and he's doing all these things. I kind of want to do that now. You know?
Yeah.
I mean,
I've had a couple things go wrong and
yeah,
I have some nerve damage now.
yeah,
And I've also drawn the line, a fight, shooting with proper training and the circumstances being right and all of that stuff. But there have been, for instance, a lifeguard tower, Annie Ellis. Oh man, did she kick ass for me for so many years. Wanda Goldberg. Oh, just really make you look like I said, like a badass.
yeah,
Both dear friends, by the way. Hi, Wanda. Um, but yeah, like jumping out of a lifeguard tower that's on fire.
yeah.
Pass.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I'm
See,
not interested.
you gotta draw the line somewhere, you know?
Right. Ocean phobic, by the way, for a lot of people that are like, wait, what?
Are you
I'm sure we'll
serious?
talk about that. Yes. So jumping, off of things into the ocean or having to jump off a boat when you're a mile out. I did that a couple times. Not fun. Just because I'm super phobic. Yeah. I'm shark phobic.
Okay.
Beyond.
Well, I was gonna say I think a lot of people can be shark phobic because I
So I mean beyond though. And I mean forever. And I take it to extremes. I will watch every shark documentary I could get my hands on. It's like this weird obsession, which is like, no, I'm not I don't want to draw anything to me. I remember shooting a film in Cape Town, South Africa. Uh that was crazy. Actually, it was Dracula 3000 and another wonderful, amazing entertainer was in that film who just passed, Coolio.
yes,
And
yeah, I know.
what a moment that was, having, Fantastic Voyage playing in my room and Coolio coming in the doorway and us wrapping a part of it together. That I'm getting chills. I will never forget just that cool moment. But I digress. God bless him and may he rest in peace and all his loved ones be
Yeah.
Godspeed healing.
Absolutely. You know what I think? I think it goes back to just every experience you do, you meet all these cool people. That's what I love about the entertainment industry. Whether
Yeah.
listen, there is obviously bad things that happen in every single industry. Obviously,
Sure.
in Hollywood, it has its bad
In
things,
life.
but in life,
Yeah.
everything. But the people you meet, I'm telling you, there's such like that's why I love actors. I love performers because I feel like in a way, and I correct me if I'm wrong, but sometimes these actors, when they do these movies, that's their real self coming out. That's what I think sometimes. Sometimes they live these lives behind the screen where it's like they're living a lie, and their thing to kind of get out of their shell is to be on screen. That's the only way they could be their true self. I could be looking at it too deep, but that's my thing.
No, I do the same. Believe me, I over analyze everything. I mean, I think you kind of hit on two different things, right? So I think the the job of an actor, in my humble opinion, is to draw out the human being within each character so that it's not only relatable, even if you're playing a villain, there's a real human in there with a real
Yeah.
heart and real emotions and real life. So it's bringing that. Can we, as actors, relate to every character that we're playing? I mean, I don't know. I think it's your job to find that space. I mean, I played a serial killer once, which was a lot of fun, by the way. So fun. And certainly we all have a shadow side or a dark side, and all of us to varying degrees.
Hopefully not that dark for you.
Right. I'm not a serial killer, nor do I relate to being one.
Yeah.
But I do find the psychology behind little things that add up that can make you flip that switch.
That's important.
Right. So those are the things, and that's the part of the actor where is it relatable? you kind of got to make it relatable. You got to live in those shoes. And that's why sometimes certain roles are so hard on families of the actor, because you're taking that on.
Yeah.
Um, then there's the other side about what you said about an actor coming alive on stage and maybe being in their shell, but each, taking a role and being able to come out and shine, and be I guess extensions of themselves. Yeah, I imagine that's true for a lot of entertainers, probably not just actors, singers,
Hmm.
anyone who's performers who are, it's like comedians. I've met some comedians who are some of the most solemn, quiet, in person people you will ever meet.
Yeah.
But on stage,
They
just
transform.
transformed, lively and funny and sometimes loud and wild, but in real life just the opposite. So
Look at like Jim
there's a
Carrey.
lot there.
Look at
There's a lot there.
Jim Carrey, Robin Williams, you
Yeah.
know, like it's like, you hear Jim Carrey saying things like, Jim Carrey, the joke he made on, I think it was on Jimmy Kimmel. He was like, oh yeah, Jim Carrey, it was a great part. I'm happy I got the part of playing Jim Carrey, making a joke because that's not really him. He's saying, right? Like the
Right.
parts he played. I just think,
He was one of the people that I met many years ago. He did a film with an ex boyfriend of mine, William McNamara, and they did a movie together.
oh really?
And I met Jim, and Jim was very quiet, just very
Yeah.
quiet, kind of shy. I was so surprised, yeah. There's a lot there. We could do a whole psychology class on this topic,
Yeah, and well, it's
you
interesting.
know.
It kind of relates a little, a little bit about the about the spiritual stuff that I actually want to talk about because you have a podcast called The
Mhm.
Spiritual Alchemy with Erika, and
Yeah.
I read, so the spiritual alchemy is all about freeing your spiritual self, which is trapped within you by the unrefined parts of yourself. That's a definition I found online, so hopefully that's correct.
Ah,
But can you
okay, I
go
like that.
but can you go a little deeper on why you're so passionate about this and everything? 'Cause I know what we've been talking about, it actually kind of relates a little bit like that, right? So
Yeah, so spiritual alchemy for me, the reason that I chose, and there's a lot of things. If you look up spiritual alchemy, podcast 14 are going to come up, which is why mine is the spiritual alchemy podcast with Erika, because otherwise other things will pop up. But
pop up, yeah.
it was important to me not to change the name because the producers, a really good home podcast that work with me, this great team, we kind of went back and forth with it. But the thing is, and the truth is, alchemy is taking a metal, right? The real definition of alchemy is to take a metal and turn it into gold.
Mm.
So for me, alchemy, spiritual alchemy, is to take everything we're doing right now, our life experiences, learn from them, and see how we can use them to transform our lives and make them better today. And the idea behind the Spiritual Alchemy podcast is to take what I know and pay it forward. Unfortunately, we are now doing our season 2 finale, and there's going to be 5 shows, and then we're going to end the show. It was really the little engine that could. They were so patient with me. Everybody's working for free, right? We're just trying to get the show off the ground until you get your sponsors and you sell the show.
Yeah.
And we were so close, but we had so many starts and stops because of a whole series of things that happened over the last year and a half in my life. We've decided that the little engine that could. Some things are meant to be, some are not. So we but we had already had great guests that we're running the show now. And I was so excited about having these amazing stories talking about life after death. That I asked the producers, I said, can we just do our last season? It'll be 5 shows. Let's let them speak for themselves. And so that's what we're doing. So tune in to the Spiritual Alchemy podcast with Erika, any place you podcast, and also on my website. The ride is crazy. We have a spiritual medium that I have personally done readings with, who I can't even tell you. A lot of people don't believe in that, and that's okay. again, whatever works for you. But this lady is the real deal. I mean, she told me stuff that nobody knew.
I want to just thank you for coming on today. It's been a blast. And I'm going to end off with a quote. I'm not sure if did you watch Kung Fu Panda or no?
Yeah, I love Kung Fu Panda.
Okay, I'm going to quote Master Uguay. I think it's right for this episode.
Okay.
Yesterday is history. Tomorrow's a mystery. Today is a gift. That's why they call it the present.
Yes. Boom.
Mic
Drop
drop.
the mic.
I love it. Thank you, Erika. I appreciate it.
Okay, Adam. Thank you so much.
See you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.